Welcome to the channel, Nature's Reality 360, where we bring you the reality of nature. Today is Monday, October 23rd, and we're going to be talking about animal rights. Now I know we all agree animals should be treated right, but this is something a little different, a little more in depth. I think you're going to find it interesting like I did, so let's jump right into it, okay? We're going to start with a very famous sentence that we should all know by heart, to be honest. But at the very least, you should have heard this in 6th grade history class. So let's go over it. Sounds a little something like this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay? If you haven't caught on, that's from the famous Declaration of Independence. That was written by Thomas Jefferson. Okay, and that's explains the rights that we have as human beings. Now, the details of this sentence have been debated ever since they were written down pretty much. What exactly is life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness? And all men, does that not include women? Right? So these things have been debated and discussed since they've been written in the Declaration of Independence. But something we always thought we knew or assumed to be true was this just included humans, right? Not animals? Well, hold your horses, okay? Everything's changing. So we have a case here where the Non-Human Rights Project is arguing that 3 elephants in the California Fresno Chase Zoo have the right to habeas corpus. Now, habeas corpus may be something you've heard of in history class as well. If not, we'll go over it real quick. Okay, habeas corpus is a concept that was first expressed in the Magna Carta. You may be familiar with that. All right, it's a constitutional document. Okay, it was written in 1215, and it stated that no free man shall be seized, imprisoned, outlawed, exiled, injured in any way, nor shall we enter against him except by lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. Okay, habeas corpus is Latin for you have the body, and it basically meant you can't just go around snatching up random people, right? You can't hold people captive for no reason. It either has to be agreed on by the public or it has to be mandated by the law, right? So let's discuss what the case they're making for these elephants is. Now, if you've seen my reporting in the past, you know elephants are extremely intelligent. They're very emotional animals, okay? And they do work together very well. So these people are arguing that since elephants are sensitive, intelligent beings who feel joy and sorrow, they have meaningful projects and relationships. Also, they walk many miles a day. They're saying in these zoos they're suffering joint disorders and their tusks get damaged, things like that, right? Now you may say, well, don't we already have animal rights laws? And we do, but they're arguing that you can't simply rely on those because it sees them as property, right? Also because the places that the elephants that aren't held in places owned by the state or controlled by the state have different set of rules as well, like a private entity, private zoos. And so what they want is they want the country to recognize that elephants have the right to liberty, just as we do. And now they're saying that doesn't mean simply releasing them into the wild, but what they do want is they want a guarantee that elephants will be released into a sanctuary accredited establishment, okay? Now we'll go a little deeper into how you get accredited. But first I want to show you, because you may say, oh, this ain't gonna happen in our time. Well, just wait and see. So this is already happening, okay? So as recent as September 28th, OJ, California became the first U.S. city to recognize legal rights of elephants. So this is already happening, okay? So in OJ, California, an ordinance was passed, okay? And the ordinance specifically says each member of the designated species within the city of OJ, California has the right to bodily liberty. No person shall prevent any member of the designated species from exercising their right to bodily liberty. Okay, now I think they're specifying a certain species in this bill being elephants. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because this could extend to a wider range of animals, all animals, and that's kind of what I wanted to get people thinking about here. Okay, so when they're talking about getting accredited. The only group that accredits in the country is this Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. This is their website here. This is their mission statement. It says to accredit and recognize sanctuaries and rescue centers, support them to achieve the highest standards of excellence, promote collaboration, and raise awareness of their work. Sounds great. You click here to get accreditation. And it says, why is accreditation important? Not all sanctuaries are created equal. So they really like pulling from the Constitution and the Bill of Rights here. Animal care is a poorly regulated industry. Thousands of those organizations worldwide, which describe themselves as sanctuaries or rescues, do not provide quality or humane care for the animals. Now, I agree with all of that. I agree that people keeping animals in their care need to be regulated, need to be monitored. But the other side of that is this. When you start seeing foundations that call themselves Global Federation, okay, I don't know about you, but to me that raises some red flags. Someone very intelligent once said, when the government starts using these acronyms, right, like GFAS, start paying attention, start really doing some research into those organizations, because these three-letter organizations aren't exactly what they told us they were, and they aren't doing exactly what we were told they were supposed to be doing. So it's good to look into that. So I would say we need to look into this Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries just in case. I like their mission statement. I'm not saying they're a bad organization or this is a bad idea. It's just good to really be thorough when you're talking about giving more power to the government, right? And when the government is talking about animals having the same exact rights that we have as humans, I start wondering, does that mean animals are being elevated to our level, or are we being demoted to the animals' level, right? That's just something you need to think about when you start seeing stuff like this go on. Now, it's important to recognize this is just an ordinance, okay? It's not a law. Now, the difference between an ordinance and a law is an ordinance is a local law that is passed by a municipal governing authority, such as a city council or a county board of commissioners. An ordinance is applicable only within the local jurisdiction. So it's basically a law, right? It's a ruling for a local jurisdiction, so just your town or your city, to where a law is a rule or regulation issued by a government or a court and is meant to protect and control people in different circumstances. Okay, now if you go here and check the WikiDiff, it says, as nouns, the difference between law and ordinance is that a law is the body of rules and standards issued by a government or to be applied by courts and similar authorities, while an ordinance is a local law, an edict, or a decree. Now see, I found that interesting, because an edict and a decree to me refers to something that's just mandated by the top, the people in control, not necessarily agreed on democratically, right? So, these are just things that stand out to me, and I want to bring them to your attention. So when I see there's a court case in front of the California Supreme Court for animals to have the right to bodily liberty, that starts getting me thinking, are they just talking about releasing animals into the wild? Because if this goes through and they say, okay, release them now, are we going to have elephants walking around California? I mean, seriously, these are the things you got to think about. Okay, so this is not the first time this has been discussed. Apparently, there has been a case in 2021 at the Bronx Zoo, okay, in New York. The New York Court of Appeals recently considered a similar petition involving Happy, an elephant from the Bronx Zoo. In 2021, the court granted a hearing on Happy's habeas claim, a claim to habeas corpus, marking the first time that the highest court in an English-speaking jurisdiction allowed such a hearing for a non-human animal. So they've already set precedent for this. They've already started doing this, and this is how the government does things. They start with something real small just to get that door cracked open, and once it's cracked open, they kick it wide open, and you usually never get it closed again. Okay, but what happened in this case, the court denied it. Okay, so thus far the rationalization courts have used to reject elephant rights show little basis in logic or law. So they're arguing that it was wrong for the court to deny that claim. So they say The majority in the happy case argued that you can have rights only if you have specific genes, human genes. And they're saying, why? Why not all living beings, right? And only if you have duties. Again, what about infants? So they're saying in terms of habeas corpus, it's like you have to have some kind of duty, and us as humans have a duty. And they're saying, well, animals don't really have duties. But when people argue it, they say, well, infants don't have duties either. So you can't consider infants to have habeas corpus rights. So these are some of the arguments that are going on. They also suggested that you can access habeas relief only if you can live independently. And they argue infants can't live independently. So it looks like the arguments the court made to deny this claim didn't really hold up. So that's why they're going to try it again. And they were successful in OJ, California with that ordinance. So it looks like they're making some headway here. And we might be talking about animals having legitimate a Bill of Rights, similar to what we have as humans. So this is something that's definitely happening. And now the court said something I also agree with. It could lead to a slippery slope, right? Because if animals have rights, right now they're talking about the zoo. But once animals get rights, that means every animal on every farm, every animal in every lab. We have research and development going on. They use mice, they use monkeys. This is how we find medicines and all types of products that us as Americans especially, but worldwide, us as humans, like having the convenience of being able to buy these certain products. And we need animals to test before we test it on humans. So what happens when animals get the same rights as we do? Do we have no more research and development? Do we have no more farms? What are we going to eat if we don't have animals on farms? Actually, in real time, I just thought of the book called Animal Farm. Okay, look into that book. Maybe some related issues going on here that were happening in that book. So that's the story today, guys. Animals getting human rights. Elephants having the right to habeas corpus. What do you think? Let us know down in the comments. Do you think animals should have the same rights as humans? Do you think animals should have no rights? Do you think everything's great the way it is now? Or do you think we need more regulation for people that have animals in their possession held captive? Do you think the government should stay out of it completely and let people do whatever they want with animals? Or do you think the government should be involved 100% and they should dictate what happens with people holding animals in captivity? All right, let us know what you think down in the comments. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tune in tomorrow for another great nature news story on Nature's Reality 360, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later.